Those of you who know me will know very well that nothing gives me greater pleasure than to get my hands on a dirty little house and give it a damn good going over. And if you're thinking about anything other than property, I suggest you focus on the matter in hand. Moving on, here's a property in Northampton that would be ideal for a renovator. This property has suffered mild to moderate fire damage as a result of being used by criminals to grow illicit products, and it went badly wrong. It's an end of terrace with side access, so it could lend itself to being separated into two flats with two separate entrances. But either way, this property is at auction coming up this month, and it would be an ideal purchase. But here's one of the most common questions that I am asked by people. How do you value a property like this? How do you decide what to pay? If you're trying to find a comparable, you're going to struggle. What you need to do is you need to find a comparable to the finished product. In other words, you need to find a house in top condition that has sold or has genuine interest, and use that as a starting point. But keep in mind that if your property is completed the correct way, it will be worth more than any other similar property in the street, because it will be in as new condition. And this is where it's very important that you don't get carried away watching Property Ladder and start overspending on fancy kitchens, fancy bathrooms and fancy floors that will drain your budget and also begin to reduce your market. The minute you deviate from a neutral layout, you begin to make the house not fitting certain people's requirements. Whereas if you go for a neutral layout, people are happy with it because they can put their own imprint on it after they buy it. So you need to begin with a completed property as your starting point, and you then need to work backwards. You need to speak to a couple of good builders, and you need to ask them to guesstimate. And I say guesstimate because you can't expect a builder to take the time and all of the subsequent expense to give you a detailed quote for every property you're thinking of buying. But you would be surprised how good builders can guesstimate a renovation to within a few thousand, which is enough for you to do your sums. And that's what you need. Look out primarily for anything that leaps out of them, structural or anything along those lines. And then once you've got your ballpark renovation figure, you need to allow for your legal costs, allow for the margin that you need, which will depend on what you're planning to do. If you're planning to buy, renovate, refinance and rent, then after all your X's are taken into account, you must have at least 25% equity left in the property so that you can refinance it to 75% loan to value and move on to the next property. Otherwise, you will run out of money. Those of you who are first-time buyers, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I will continue to say it. Do not go and buy an overpriced new property with a small deposit. You will be hanging yourselves and you will be living with negative equity and your greatest outlay being a huge mortgage for the best years of your lives. Go out the way, look for a cheap renovator, get some help from family, friends, an investor, buy and renovate this property, and from the minute you complete that property, you'll be sitting in a property with only 60 or 70% loan to value, and that gives you the best possible start to your home owning life. As always, if you have any questions, let me know. If you know where there's a property for renovation, suitable for renovation, near where you are, speak to the landlord, find out what they want, let me know, and if I have a buyer, I will split the finder's fee with you 50-50. As always, any other questions, please feel free to get in touch, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.